Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new Decay scrolls that are coming for the October 21st scrolls update, brought to you by Mojang and potato chips or something, I don't know. But Decay, being the newest resource, had a less amount of cards than the other three resources. This is partially a catch-up form, as you may see here in this video. Decay has by far the most scrolls added to their lot. It should be 14 new cards. Let's see here, that's 6, that's 12, that's 14 new cards. Pardon me if I miss something. Please let me know if I do miss cards in any of these videos, but I do want to go ahead and talk because there are some really kind of weird, interesting mechanics that are kind of being thrown in with Decay to give it an even more unique flavor. And let's start with Beetlestone, which is a card that really plays on Decay's penchant for loving to do direct idle damage. Beetlestone by itself, not that threatening. Beetlestone plus Beetlestone in hand is pretty terrifying, especially if you get some kind of extra card draw or something, because when you play a Beetlestone, it does nothing. When you play a second one, 2 random idle damage, and then that one is returned and put to the top of your library. That means you're going to draw it next. So that it is possible to, say, play a Beetlestone, play another Beetlestone, play something that will draw a card, or kill something that will draw a card, and then another Beetlestone. So it's possible to really ramp up a lot of idle damage right there. It's random, but still nice to see. I do like that. Now it's a structure, it's a totem, so it's not going to handle the totem of suffering the same way, because that's creature death. Still interesting to see. Bloodline Taint. Remember when I was saying in the growth video, if you watched it, that I wasn't sure there weren't many effects out there that say like, hey, type kinfolk, type human, type something or other. This spell does. Target unit and all their units of the same side that share a subtype gain curse 1. So let's say something like Ripper, which is a simple 1 health 2/2/2 creature, is human. All other humans on the same side, as that's kind of a ghostly nice art there, get curse 2. So that is a really interesting spell for 4 Decay. I'm not exactly sure how much rotation it'll see, but I do like seeing that kind of mechanic there. So I'll have to sort of keep that in mind, because Curse 2 is really, really tough to overcome. Eager Scryer. If Eager Scryer's countdown is 2 or more, draw a scroll. Now the first thing I read when I was looking at this was, how in the world are you going to increase the Eager Scryer's countdown from 1 to 2? I can't think of that many cards that do it on more than a temporary basis. Then I looked at the next card on the list, Fungify, which is 5 health increase and base countdown increased by 1. So there you go. If you want to scroll every other turn, use that combo. And you'll have an Eager Scryer that's super hard to kill, but only does 1 damage. Of course, not that hard to kill if you do direct damage there. Still interesting to see. I'm not sure quite how either of those cards will work. It is 2 health for or 2 decay for a 5 health increase, but not the strongest card. The +1 countdown is a really tough price to pay, especially for Decay, which is already pretty damn slow. Of course, if you're using it on a Savage Construct or something, well then guess what? You just got a lot more health. Alright, Ilmar Tribesman, another basic creature here. You may say 3/4, oh my god, for 2 resources. Keep in mind, Decay's slow. This is a 3 countdown creature, so it's going to take some time, although it is good for a possible cheapy deck, but you gotta have something to possibly speed it up. And Blessing of Haste did not get nerfed, so it is still 1 order. Iron Bile is a card that I've heard some people talk about, say great things, bad things. I don't know things. This is going to be a everybody fucks up everybody card at the same time, because you get Curse 1 and +1 attack, but both players get the benefit from it. So if you're going to play Iron Bile, why not do something like play it with a Necrogeddon, because you already have Husk that are disposable anyway. Pretty interesting. But the next card here is Monstrosity, which has a very cute, lovely little icon, but I want to start by talking about Monstrous Brood, because Monstrous Brood is kind of a different style of Necrogeddon. Creatures you control that share a name with target creature are destroyed and replaced by Monstrosity. So think about how awesome of a follow-up that would be to a Necrogeddon. You have a bunch of Husks out there, then you cast Monstrous Brood, and suddenly you have a bunch of monstrosities. That is how you cycle through your deck, my friends. This is a 4/2/3, a not really rare to countdown creature, but the more important thing about this is that monstrosities, when they're surrounded by other monstrosities, they get +1 attack and +1 health, and that is adjacent. If it's next to other creatures, like say this guy or this guy, then they lose 1 attack and 1 health. So I think the Neck are getting into that play while very kind of, I'm not sure if it's viable. That's something, the first thing that popped in my mind when I saw that. Still monstrosity, worth it just for the little face going, or maybe kill me, I don't know. Pestis Simulator. This looks like a card that would be 6 resources, and you may say, well, it's 3 countdown, it's 1 attack. But the thing is that it does an area of effect attack. Creatures get 1 curse and are poisoned for 3 rounds. That's 6 damage. That's 6 damage to a creature and all adjacent creatures. Pretty freaking ridiculous if you ask me. Now, it's 6 resources and it's slow, so I'm not saying that's overpowered or anything, and I do like the little wispy effect for the art here, but if you can keep this guy alive in time to do enough damage, it can be really, really devastating, especially with a Miasma. Ripper we already talked about, just a tiny little creature there. Sickening Fumes, opponent's turn, opponent's unit have their attack decreased by 3, which I can think of plenty of times where that would have been plenty useful for me. So, good card. Question is, where do you fit it in a deck? Because so many times in Scrolls it favors you being aggressive and on the offensive. And maybe this would work for really a deck that guns hard for using Totem of Suffering or something like Beetle Stones or some other cards to do a bunch of idle damage. But this is very much a defensive card, and I'm just not sure if, at least in the current game, that defensive cards like this have as much of a place in decks. So that gets us to Uneasy Alliance, which is kind of like the Stagheart for Decay, where you can get +2 attack, and that's for each Uneasy Alliance out there, but then when that creature dies, all Uneasy Alliance dies. What can you do? It's Decay. I think it's interesting. Could be some fun, especially once again with a tiny card deck, or maybe even a rat deck, because fuck it, let's use Unforeseen Onslaught, which all your cards get Slayer if they have 1 attack or less. Now, I guess that does mean Uneasy Alliance doesn't work very well with that, so sorry, but this is kind of a rat deck wet dream. I know some people are just hoping for a rat kind of tiny creature deck to work. Though keep in mind that would mean that the Junkyard synergy of increasing all your rats attack by 1 would make Unforeseen Onslaught useless. So, things to keep in mind. Still interesting to see. Finally, Watcher, which is an interesting structure in that you get to have the additional 3 damage to opponent's idols. That's 3, not the usual 2, but that's if any adjacent creature is killed by any other way than melee combat. It's 2 health, it's 2 decay for a 5 health wall. So that's good in of itself, and the possibility to add in some damage. I'm sure that's if you do your own damage as well, even if something like the popular, say, you Fertile Soul your own creature if you're playing a Decay Growth deck, or if you burn your own creature, or if you do something that Damning Curse and you kill a bunch of 1 health creatures. You can do a lot of idle damage that way. So Decay has some interesting mechanics that are being added in, and I do like where Mojang's going with it, is that it has its very own very, very, very unique flavor. And that's going to be good for the game in the long run. So I look forward to seeing how these cards play out. But that's it for now. This is Way to Fail. We're going to be going through all of the resources here for the update before the next week. But that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all soon.